Ever look at the world and think, man, I just want to unplug the entire global economy, wait 10 seconds, and plug it back in? Well, let's dive into this explainer, because today we're exploring a truly fascinating proposal. Imagine for a moment that the entire global economy is essentially just a giant, glitchy computer operating system. We look around at all the crises, the conflicts, the inequality, and we naturally assume the machine itself is completely broken. But the sources we're unpacking today suggest something entirely different. They argue the machine is fine, actually. It's just in desperate need of a software reboot. We're currently running on this legacy code that fundamentally limits us. So today, we're going to walk through a complete, hard-coded architectural upgrade designed to fix the whole system.
All right, here's our quick system diagnostic checklist for today. First, we'll look at the glitch of scarcity. Second, we'll install the triple helix upgrade. Third, we'll power it up with the Peace for Profit flywheel. And finally, we'll boot up the abundance reality. Starting with part 1, the glitch of scarcity. Let's diagnose this legacy code. To understand the proposed fix, we first have to pinpoint the exact glitch in our current setup, which the sources call the scarcity economic model. Have you guys ever heard of buy, borrow, die? It's this wealth preservation strategy where the ultra-wealthy acquire appreciating assets, borrow against them at super low interest rates to fund their lifestyles completely tax-free, and then pass it all down to their heirs tax-free through a stepped-up basis. Now, if you've ever felt like the economic game is rigged, our sources emphasize that this isn't just some clever loophole. It is the core foundational logic of our scarcity economic model. It legally encloses productive wealth and essentially engineers artificial scarcity for everyone else who has to rely on active, heavily taxed labor. You can really see the stark contrast here between our current system and the proposed fix. On the left, our legacy code operates on this zero-sum conflict logic. Basically, for one person to win, someone else absolutely has to lose. This creates a massive risk premium that scares capital away from the places that need it most, locking regions into endless aid dependency. But on the right, the new code proposes an abundance reality. It uses asset-backed guarantees to actively shrink that risk, which attracts massive capital and turns peace and stability into a highly profitable motive. This quote really hits the nail on the head regarding our current architecture. It says, the system enforces strict scarcity while capital operates in expansion. Think about it. The current system pushes the heavy tax burden, inflation, and the harsh realities of debt directly onto the working class. Meanwhile, that enclosed capital operates in a totally parallel reality. It just continuously expands without ever really re-entering the taxable economy. The scarcity we experience isn't a natural law. It's systematically engineered and redistributed downward. So here is the absolute kicker. World hunger, poverty, systemic conflict. These are not actually resource problems. We physically have the energy, the water, and the food right now to support all of humanity. What we have is a logistics and a mindset glitch. And the beautiful thing about a glitch is that with the right engineering, it can be patched. Moving right along to part 2, the triple helix upgrade. Time to install the new BIOS. Forget fragile paper treaties and zero-sum economics. The proposed solution is a hard-coded system upgrade that the sources call the new BIOS for global prosperity. They refer to it as the triple helix of restoration. It interlocks 3 absolutely essential layers: wisdom through education, community through social justice and physical needs, and innovation through advanced technology. You can't just pick one. They have to operate together in perfect, self-healing synchronization to create lasting stability. Let's break down how these 3 layers actually work.
Okay, layer 1 is the hardware, because you can't run next-gen software on a broken machine, right? This physical layer is all about future-proof infrastructure. We're talking renewable energy grids, autonomous logistics, and Starlink nodes, driven by visionaries like Elon Musk. And what's incredible about this approach is the strategy of leapfrogging. Instead of painstakingly rebuilding conflict zones using outdated 20th century models, this hardware allows these regions to skip legacy systems completely and plug directly into a high-performance futuristic economy.
But hey, advanced hardware is basically useless or even dangerous without the right software guiding it. Enter Layer 2, the Moral OS. The sources detail an AI oversight and ethics framework called Genie and PCRMI. Think of this as a verifiable trust layer. It completely scraps the idea of fragile paper peace treaties and replaces them with hard-coded covenantal accountability. By legally and financially rewarding ethical behavior, stuff built on forgiveness, hope, trust, and agency, it dramatically lowers the risk premium. Suddenly, historically volatile regions become safe, attractive bets for institutional capital. And to top it off, Layer 3 is the intelligence. This is a massive optimization engine powered by advanced systems like XAI and Grok, utilizing quantum predictive algorithms. This layer is constantly scanning the newly built infrastructure and the social contracts. It's predicting where military or economic friction might pop up way before it boils over. It basically prescribes the path of least resistance for growth, making sure resources flow exactly where they're needed to keep the whole system balanced.
Part 3, the piece for profit flywheel. This is our new economic processor.
Okay, so we've got the hardware built, the moral software installed, and the intelligence engine optimizing it all. Now we need the processor. We need the engine that makes this entire system run on its own. Enter the piece for profit flywheel. It's an economic engine that takes stability from being just a nice moral plea and turns it into a highly profitable, self-reinforcing market reality. It totally shifts peacemaking away from being a diplomatic art form and turns it into strict systems engineering. Let's look at how this momentum actually builds, step by step. First, the moral OS establishes moral legitimacy, which immediately drops investor risk. Second, because the risk is lower, massive capital flows in to deploy that advanced infrastructure. Third, that new infrastructure creates local prosperity. Locals are getting high-paying jobs and building a thriving supply chain. And fourth, the profits from that newfound stability get reinvested right back into the community, making it more resilient and spinning the flywheel even faster.
This brings us to literally the core behavioral thesis of this entire framework. People protect what pays them. It really is that simple. The old scarcity model relies on keeping populations dependent on aid, which makes them super vulnerable to radicalization. This new OS transforms those exact same people into active asset holders. If you own a piece of a thriving economic grid, you naturally become the absolute fiercest protector of that grid.
Why does this matter to you and the broader global economy?
Well, when your local income and your family's access to food and water rely directly on this interconnected high-tech grid, crashing the system with conflict is no longer a viable political statement. It literally bankrupts your own community. Violence gets transformed from a political tool into an act of immediate economic self-sabotage. Conflict just becomes fundamentally unprofitable.
Now, obviously, initializing this massive flywheel doesn't just happen by magic. Potential is common, but purposeful leadership is rare. To kickstart this, the sources specify we need strategic scaling from a stakeholder class, basically the 1% of the 1% who step up to act as architects. They inject the massive initial capital required to act as an insurance bond for global stability, bridging the gap between theory and execution.
Finally, Section 4, the abundance reality. Let's run the new application. So what does this actually look like when the new planetary operating system is fully booted up and that flywheel is spinning at max speed? We enter what the documents call a resource-based economy. And this isn't sci-fi. It's grounded in real, deployable hardware. Take the ARQ-18 modular habitats proposed in the sources. These are physical units that act as localized micro-refineries. They literally take local garbage and waste and through high-efficiency gasification, transform it into clean energy, atmospheric water, and food. They generate a physical abundance that trickles up from the community level rather than waiting forever for wealth to trickle down. This completely flips the script on the old buy, borrow, die model. We move away from extractive ROI, which just drains value from a system until it collapses, and we swap it for regenerative ROI. In a regenerative system, biology becomes economics. Profit and peace don't have to fight each other anymore. Under this new operating system, people, the planet, and financial profit literally all flourish together simultaneously. The biggest takeaway from the sources we've unpacked today is incredibly optimistic. We're not trapped by the scarcity model. That glitch in our global operating system is completely optional. We literally already possess the technology, the excess capital, and the physical resources to create a world of guaranteed well-being for all 8 billion people on this planet. We just need to change our distribution logic. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to chew on. If the legacy code of zero-sum conflict is so clearly crashing our system, and the triple helix upgrade is engineered, financed, and ready to go, are we as a global society finally prepared to click install? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.